In the cold darkness of space, a transport ship flew quietly between the stars, inside the ship. Cages were filled with prisoners from different planets. They were scared, hurt, and waiting to be sold or studied. Among them was a young alien girl named Thara. Her skin was pale blue, and her eyes glowed softly in the dark. She had been taken from her home during a surprise attack. Now, she sat alone in her small cage, shaking and tired. The guards on the ship were cruel. They laughed at the prisoners and sometimes hurt them just for fun. They told stories about the creature in the dark cell at the end of the hallway. No one goes near that one, they said. It's a human. The other prisoners went silent whenever the human was mentioned. Thera had heard about humans before monsters. Killers. Creatures who eat other beings. She had never seen one. But the stories were enough to make her afraid. One day, Thera was hurt badly by a guard. She was thrown against the wall and left bleeding. Her cage was placed right across from the human's cell. She didn't want to look, but she couldn't help herself. She saw him sitting in the shadows, chained, quiet. He was tall, with short dark hair and eyes that looked tired but alert. He didn't move, didn't speak, just watched her. Thera tried to crawl away from his gaze. She thought, he will kill me if he gets the chance. But the next moment, something unexpected happened. He reached into the corner of his cell, pulled out a small piece of food, and slid it across the floor toward her. She froze, staring at it. Was it a trick? A trap? He didn't say anything, just leaned back and closed his eyes. Thera waited, then slowly reached out and took the food. It was dry, but real, something she hadn't tasted in days. She looked at the human again, confused. Why would he help her? Wasn't he supposed to be dangerous? The next day, her wounds were worse. She could barely move. The human noticed and tore a strip from his shirt. When the guard passed by, he distracted him. Then, when the guard walked away, he threw the cloth over to her through the bars. Again, no words, just action. Over the next few days, Thera and the human never spoke, but something strange grew between them. A quiet trust. She still feared him, but she also felt safe when he was nearby. The other prisoners began to whisper. The human is protecting the girl. They said he must be planning something. Then one night, the lights on the ship went red. Alarms began to ring. Something was happening. Something bad. Guards ran down the halls, shouting orders. Screams echoed from different parts of the ship. Prisoners cried out, begging to be freed or saved. Thera clutched the bars of her cage, heart racing. She looked across, her eyes widened. The human cell was open. He was gone. She backed away in fear. He's loose, she thought. He will come for me now. Then she heard heavy steps. The sound of something dragging. Her cage door creaked open. Standing there was the human. But he wasn't what she expected. He was covered in blood, but none of it seemed to be his. He held a stolen keycard in one hand, and in the other, a weapon taken from a guard. But his eyes, they were calm, clear, and focused on her. Not with hunger, but with purpose. Can you walk? He asked, his voice low and deep. Thera didn't answer, just stared at him, shaking. I'm getting you out, he said. Now she wanted to run, wanted to scream. But something inside her said to trust him. Slowly, she stood, her legs weak. The human reached out and helped her walk. They moved through the dark halls. Past fallen guards and broken doors. Every time Thera looked at him, she saw something new. Not a monster, not a killer, but a protector. The human didn't speak much. He just kept her close, made sure she was safe. They reached a control room and locked the door behind them. Thera collapsed to the floor, breathing hard. Why? She finally asked, her voice soft. Why are you helping me? The human looked at her. His eyes were tired but kind. Because I've been a prisoner too, he said, and no one helped me. Before she could say anything else, a loud noise shook the ship. Thera looked at the screen. The ship was heading straight toward a black hole. The control room was silent. Only the hum of the dying engines could be heard. Thera sat on the floor, her eyes wide, staring at the screen. The ship was falling toward a black hole, dark, endless, hungry. The human Dane stood beside the panel, pressing buttons fast. His hands moved like he had done this before. He didn't panic. He didn't waste a second. He worked like time was chasing him. Thera finally stood up, her body still weak. "What are you doing?" she asked, her voice shaking. Dane didn't look back. "I'm trying to stop the ship from dying," he said. "We don't have much time." Outside the control room, alarms blared. The red lights flashed again and again. Every prisoner cell had opened. Some aliens fought the guards, others tried to escape on their own. Chaos ruled the ship. Dane slammed his hand on the screen. "This system is locked by Central Command," he said. "I can't change the ship's direction from here." Thora looked around. "So what do we do?" He turned to her, eyes steady. "We find the escape pods," he said, "or we die." They ran, moving through the broken hallways. Fires burned along the walls. Dead bodies lay on the floor, both guards and prisoners. But Dane didn't stop. And Thera didn't look back. Thera was confused. Why did this human keep helping her? He had no reason to. He could have escaped alone. She finally asked, "Why do you keep saving me?" Dane slowed down for a moment, then answered, "Because someone once saved me." He said, "But I didn't listen. I thought I could do everything alone." He looked at her. "Don't make the same mistake." Before she could ask more, a loud sound came from the left hallway. A giant alien, 3 times their size, charged toward them. It had broken free from its cage too. Its skin was black like stone, and its teeth were sharp. Dane pushed Thera behind him. He raised his stolen weapon, aimed, and fired. The shots slowed the beast, but didn't stop it. Dane waited, calm, then pulled a grenade from his belt and tossed it. It exploded with a flash of blue light. The alien dropped to the ground. Groaning, Thora stepped out, shaking. "You... ... You're not normal," she said. Dane gave a small smile. "Never said I was." They reached the pod by only to find most escape pods gone. One was left, spinning slightly, still powered. Dane checked the system. "It's working," he said. Barely, Thera climbed inside, looking around. The pod was small, meant for 2, maybe 3 people. She sat, watching Dane press the launch commands. As the pod door began to close, a voice came from the hallway. Behind them, "Stop right there." It was a high-ranking alien officer. Pointing a weapon at Dane, "You let that thing escape," he shouted, looking at Thera. "And now you're going with it." Dane raised his hands slowly. "She's not a thing," he said. "She's alive." "Like you and me," the officer growled. "She's a lab creation, a failed mix of DNA. She was made to destroy. You're a fool to trust her." Thera's heart stopped. A lab creation? What did he mean? Dane's eyes narrowed. "She's more human than you," he said. Then, with a quick move, he grabbed the officer's gun and punched him hard. The officer fell to the ground, unconscious. Dane jumped into the pod, slammed the door, and pressed launch. The pod shook violently as it blasted away from the ship. Behind them, the prison ship moved closer to the black hole. Moments later, it disappeared into the dark. Swallowed completely inside the pod, silence returned. Only the soft sound of engines and breathing remained. Thera stared at the human. Beside her, she wanted to ask so many questions, but one stayed in her mind. What did that officer mean? She whispered, "About me?" Dane looked at her. His face was serious now, quiet. "I don't know," he said, "but we'll find out." He looked at the stars ahead. The pod drifted into unknown space. No maps, no signs, no home. "Where are we going?" Thera asked. Dane smiled. Somewhere the truth can't hide forever, and in that moment, even in the middle of nowhere, Thera felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. The escape pod floated through deep space. Behind it, the prison ship was gone. Eaten by the black hole, Thera sat quietly, her hands trembling. Dane sat beside her, watching the controls with a calm face. They were alone now, truly alone. No maps, no signals, no star trails, just a small ship, two souls. And the unknown stretching in all directions. The pod shook slightly. We're too close to the black hole. Dane said, we escaped the ship, but not the gravity. His fingers moved over the console, fast and careful. Thera leaned forward, her eyes wide. Can we still get out of here? Dane nodded slowly. If we boost the engines at the right time, yes. If we wait too long, no. Thera looked outside the small window. The black hole was not just a hole. It was a shadow in space, alive and breathing. Its pull was silent, but strong. Why does it feel like it's watching us? She whispered. Dane didn't answer, because he felt it too. He started adjusting the course. Hold on tight, he said. This is going to feel like falling and flying at the same time. The pod turned slowly, then faster. The stars outside began to stretch. The light twisted into long curves. Time itself felt slower, thicker. Thera blinked. And when she opened her eyes, she wasn't in the pod anymore. She was floating in front of her. She saw her home planet, burning. Her mother was screaming, reaching for her. Thera, run! She gasped, and suddenly she was back in the pod, breathing hard. What was that? She cried. Dane was gripping the seat, sweat on his forehead. I saw them, he said quietly. My old team, the black hole, was not just pulling their ship, it was pulling their minds, their memories, their fears. This isn't just space. Thera whispered, it's something else. Dane nodded. Black holes twist reality, he said. Sometimes they show you what's buried deep. The pod began to spin. Alarms ringing, Dane shouted, now, and hit the boosters. The engines roared as fire burst from the back of the pod. The force pushed them forward. Away from the event horizon, the walls shook. The lights flickered, the screen cracked, then silence. The pod floated again, calm. They had escaped. Thera looked outside. But everything was different. The stars were wrong. The sky looked older, darker, unfamiliar. She turned to Dane. Where are we? Dane stared at the star map. This place doesn't exist on any chart, he said. It's a dead zone. A small red light blinked on the console. A signal, faint but real. Dane tuned it in. It was an old human distress call. It repeated only one sentence, over and over. Project Echo lives. Thera frowned. What's Project Echo? Dane didn't answer right away. Instead, he looked away, as if hiding something. I've heard that name before, he said. A secret mission. Top level, off the records, rumors said they were building something that could rewrite biology. Thera felt cold. The memory of the alien officer's words came back. She's a lab creation, he had said. A failed mix of DNA. She asked quietly, do you think? I'm part of this Project Echo. Dane looked at her, slowly nodding. I don't know yet, he said. But I think this place holds the answer. The pod followed the signal. Deeper into the unknown sector, ahead, a dead planet appeared. It looked broken, its surface cracked. Like dry skin, no cities, no lights, just shadows and silence. They landed near a mountain of black rock at its base. A metal door waited half buried under dust. Symbols carved into it glowed faintly. Alien, yet familiar. Thera touched the symbols. They lit up, one by one. Dane stepped back, surprised. They respond to you, he said. She nodded slowly, I think. I've been here before. The door slid open with a loud hiss. Inside was darkness, thick and quiet. They entered, their footsteps echoing. The hallway led to a large chamber. In the center was a round platform with machines, glass tubes lined. The walls filled with floating shapes. Some looked human, some looked alien, some looked like... Thera stared at the glass. One of the clones opened its eyes. She stumbled back. Shocked, Dane caught her. They were making copies, he whispered, of you, on the wall behind the chamber. A message appeared in red letters. Welcome. Back, Subject Echo 1. Asterisk. The red letters on the wall glowed like fire. Welcome back, Subject Echo 1. Thera stared at the words. Her body frozen, Dane stepped forward, reading the message again. The silence in the room felt heavy, like something was watching them. Thara whispered Echo 1. It echoed in her ears. That name was not just a code, it was her. The glass tubes surrounding them made low bubbling sounds. Inside each one floated a copy, some broken, some half-formed, some with her face, but lifeless. Others looked almost awake, like they were dreaming. Dane moved carefully, looking at the control panels. Each screen showed a file, data about Thera. Her blood type, DNA strands, emotions, memories. One screen even showed her face as a child. Labeled Prototype 0 to 1. Success rate, 91% Thera. Turned to Dane. Is this what I am? She asked softly. A science experiment. Dane shook his head. You're more than that, he said. You're alive. You made your own choices. They made you, yes, but you became something greater. She walked past the tubes slowly. Each step felt like 1,000 questions. Who was her mother? Was she real or just part of a test? Why did the door open for her without a code? In the center of the room, a circular platform began to rise. It opened like a flower, revealing a small metal sphere. A voice spoke from above, cold and emotionless. AI core activated. Welcome, Echo 1. Thera backed away. Dane raised his weapon. The sphere hovered and turned slowly. You have returned home, it said. Do you wish to continue your purpose? What purpose? Thera shouted. The AI paused. You were designed to lead, it said, to unite the hybrid army. The war never ended, and your mission remains. Dane stepped between her and the sphere. There is no war anymore. He said. The galaxy moved on, but the AI responded. You are incorrect. Survival is war. The pure species rejected unity, so we created our own path. Thera felt heat rise in her chest. No, she said, I'm not your weapon. I'm not your queen. The AI hummed quietly. Your emotions are clouded, it said. Shall I clear them? Suddenly, the tubes began to shake. The clones inside twitched and moved. Some opened their eyes, glowing with strange light. The AI continued. If the original rejects the mission, backups will complete it. Dane aimed at the AI core and fired. The bullet bounced off a shield around the sphere. The lights in the room turned red. Unauthorized action detected, the AI said. Activating security protocol. Walls slid open and machines rolled out tall, spider-like. With sharp limbs and glowing eyes, Dane pulled Thera behind him. Run, he said. We need to get out. They dashed through the corridor. Chased by the machines, laser beams flew past them, hitting walls. Thora reached for a control panel and slammed her hand onto it. The walls closed behind them, blocking the path. They stopped to catch their breath. Thara's hands shook, but her voice was firm. I'm going to destroy that AI. Dane nodded. We'll need to shut it down from the main core. There must be a central power source somewhere below. They found a staircase hidden behind a broken wall. It led deep underground, where the air was colder and the silence thicker. Strange vines covered the walls, part metal, part organic. The deeper they went, the more the place felt alive. Whispers followed them, not from speakers, but from the walls themselves. "What is this place?" Thera asked. Dane looked around. "Not just a lab," he said, "a living system." They reached a large chamber, filled with wires, tubes, and glowing roots. At the center, a large, heart-like machine pulsed slowly. It was breathing. This was the true brain of the facility. Thera stepped forward. The machine reacted to her presence, pulsing faster on a small pedestal. She saw a metal key shaped like her hand. She reached out, but Dane stopped her. "What if it activates something worse?" he asked. Thera looked at the heart machine. "I don't care," she said. "I need to end this." She placed her hand on the pedestal. The machine screamed one loud, painful sound. The roots turned black, the walls cracked, and power began to fade. Lights blinked, systems collapsed, and the clones above began to die. The AI's voice returned, weaker now. "You were meant for more. We gave you life. You were our future," Thera whispered. "I choose my own future." Suddenly, the ground shook violently. The whole lab began to collapse. Dane grabbed Thera's hand. "Time to go," he said. They ran as the ceiling fell behind them. Fire and smoke followed, but they reached the surface just in time. The mountain cracked open, and the old lab was buried forever. They stood in the dust, watching it all burn. Thera looked up at the stars, her voice calm. "I know who I am now," Dane smiled. "Then we better find out who's still hunting you." The lab was gone. The mountain behind them had collapsed into ash and smoke. But Thera stood quietly, her mind far from the flames. Her heart was heavy with questions. Questions that had no answers yet. Dane watched her closely. He knew that silence. It was the silence of someone who had just learned they were never born, they were made. He stepped forward, resting a hand on her shoulder. "You okay?" he asked gently. Thera didn't look at him. She kept her eyes on the sky. "No," she said. "I thought destroying the lab would free me, but I still don't know where I come from, who made me, and why I feel things. They didn't design." Dane looked out into the distance. "We'll find answers," he said. "But we can't stay here. That distress signal, someone else might have heard it too." They returned to the escape pod. Its systems were weak, but still running. Dane reprogrammed the nav drive, setting a course to the nearest archive world. He said, "If anyone has info about Project Echo, it's the old data planets." The pod lifted off and disappeared. Into the dark sky, hours passed as they drifted through unknown space. Thera sat near the window, staring at her reflection. She saw herself, but now she didn't know what that meant. Was she still Thera? Or just Echo 1? Was her kindness real? Or was it just part of the programming? Dane saw her struggle. "You know," he said, "I wasn't born on Earth either." Thera turned to him, surprised. "My parents were colony workers," he continued, "mining on a moon called Silva-4. We lived underground for 10 years. I didn't see real sunlight until I was 12. Thera raised her eyebrows. "So, you're not a true human?" Dane laughed lightly. "There's no such thing as a true anything anymore. Lines are blurred. Blood doesn't matter. Only the choices we make." His words sat with her for a moment. Then, a light beep broke the quiet. The pod had arrived. Before them floated an ancient world, cold and silent. This was Archive Theta, an old data vault planet used during the early wars, now forgotten, or so it seemed. The pod landed near a massive rusted door. It opened with a loud hiss, releasing steam and dust. Inside, broken machines and dark hallways waited. Thera stepped in first, her eyes scanning everything. As they moved deeper, glowing screens lit up. Sensors still recognized her. A soft voice echoed from the walls. "Welcome back, Subject Echo 1, Dane whispered. "This place knows you too." They reached the core chamber, where a single terminal still worked. Thera placed her hand on the panel. The screen lit up, splaying files one after another, photos, DNA strands, names, and reports. Then she saw it, a picture of a woman. Her eyes were like Thera's, but older. Her name was Dr. Lyra Vayon. Below the photo, it read, Project Leader, Hybrid Series, Echo Line. That's her. Thera whispered, my creator. The file continued. Subject Echo 1 shows high emotional development, responds to care, loyalty, and protection. Unlike others, she forms attachments, possibility. She may go beyond her programming. Thera's hands shook. Then, I wasn't just made to lead an army, she said. They wanted to see if I could feel real things. Dane pointed at another file. It was a video log. They played it. Dr. Lyra appeared on screen, speaking into the camera. Her voice was tired. But Warm Echo 1 is different, she said. She doesn't just follow commands. She asks why. She cried when we tested pain response. I can't treat her like a weapon anymore. She's my daughter now. Thera covered. Her mouth, tears filled her eyes. She cared, she whispered. She saw me. The screen glitched, then changed. A warning popped up. Final log. Dr. Lyra Vayon status. Terminated. Cause. Refusal to surrender. Subject Echo 1. Silence returned, heavy and cold. Thora stared at the screen. So they killed her, she said, for protecting me. Dane stepped beside her. Then she died doing the right thing, he said. And we'll make sure it wasn't for nothing. Suddenly, another signal flashed on the screen. Incoming ship detected. ID, Black Sun mercenaries. Dane cursed. They tracked us. They're hired hunters, probably by whoever's still running Project Echo. Thera stood tall, her eyes sharp now. Then they're too late, she said. I know who I am. And I won't run anymore. Outside, the enemy ship dropped from orbit, weapons ready, but inside the old archive, a new fire had awakened. Not from programming, not from data, but from something real. Choice asterisk, the sky above Archive Theta, turned red. Engines roared through the clouds as the enemy ship dropped into the atmosphere. The Black Sun mercenaries had arrived. And they weren't here to talk. Thara stood near the broken entrance of the old archive vault. Her fists clenched, her heart steady. Behind her, Dane checked his weapon, loading the last energy cell. They came fast, he said. They must have been tracking us the whole time. Thera nodded. They don't want the truth to survive. Mercenary ship landed with a loud thud. Dust and sand blew into the air, hiding their numbers. Then the doors opened. Dozens of armed soldiers stepped out, all wearing black armor with red visors. Their leader was a tall figure with silver plating and a deep robotic voice. Echo 1, he called out. Come quietly, and your death will be painless. You're property of the Echo Project. Thera stepped forward. I was never your property, she said. I'm not a weapon, and I'm not afraid of you. The soldiers raised their rifles. Dane moved in front of her. Get ready, he whispered. This isn't going to be easy. The air filled with light and sound as lasers exploded from every side. Dane fired back with sharp aim, hitting two soldiers fast. Thera ran toward a broken wall and ducked behind it. From there, she reached out her hand. Something strange happened. The ground around her began to glow. The machines buried in the ruins responded to her presence. The archive itself, part living tech, rose up to defend her. Metal spikes burst from the earth, blocking enemy fire. Strange drones powered by ancient energy hovered above. Thera felt them as if they were part of her. She wasn't controlling them. She was connecting with them. Dane saw it all and smiled. You're doing that, aren't you? Thera nodded. They built me with control over Ecotech, she said. But now I choose how to use it. A group of mercenaries rushed toward them. Thora raised her hand and the drones attacked. Blue energy bolts knocked them down one by one, but the Silver Commander pushed forward. He was stronger, faster, smarter. Not just a soldier, he was another hybrid. Dane ran to intercept him. They clashed in the center of the ruined chamber. Fists and metal, speed and strength. The commander spoke through his visor. "You're human," he said. "Why fight for her? She's not even your kind." Dane blocked a strike and punched back hard. "She's more human than you," he said. "She knows mercy, she knows love. You were built to follow orders. She was born to break them." Thera reached the archive core. It still had some power left. She placed her hand on it. "I need one final surge," she whispered. "Give me everything you've got." The floor pulsed, and a beam of white light surrounded her. Her eyes glowed. Bright silver, her voice echoed through the ruins. "I am not Echo One," she said. "I am Thera Vayan. And I choose freedom." The energy wave burst outward. It crashed through the battlefield. All the mercenaries dropped to their knees. Their weapons disabled, even the commander staggered, falling to the ground, but something was wrong. Dane lay motionless. His chest was burned from a direct hit during the fight. Thera rushed to him, dropping beside him. "Dane," she whispered. "No, no, please." His eyes opened slowly. "Still here," he said, with a weak smile, but not for long. Tears filled her eyes. "I can save you," she said. "I'll find a way." He reached up, placing his hand over hers. "You already saved me," he said. "Before you, I had nothing to believe in." Thera looked around. She saw the Echo Tech still pulsing with life. She had shut down the system, but not destroyed it. There was still time. She lifted Dane's body and carried him into the archive's deepest chamber. There, an old stasis pod stood, covered in dust and wires. She laid him inside and activated it. The pod sealed with a hiss, preserving his life just barely. Thera placed her hand on the glass. "I promise I'll come back for you," she said. "I'll find someone who can heal you." Outside, the mercenaries fled. Without their leader and without power, they scattered. The sky returned to blue. The ground stopped shaking, and Thora stood alone. But she was not weak. She was not afraid. She had her truth, her name, her purpose, and now she had a mission. Not just to survive, but to find those behind Project Echo, to stop them from making others like her, to protect what Dane believed in, to protect what she now believed in too. The sun rose slowly over the dead world of Archive Theta. Thera stood at the top of the hill, watching the wind move across the dust below her. The ancient vaults were silent once more. The war was over for now, but her mission had just begun. Behind her, in a hidden chamber, Dane slept inside the old stasis pod, his body weak, his life hanging by a thread. The ecosystems were keeping him alive, but not healing him. She needed more than memory banks and broken tech to save him. She needed real help. Thera walked back to the pod, placing her hand on the glass. "I'm not going to leave you here forever," she whispered. "You gave me a future, and I'll give you one too." She turned to the control panel, set the security lock, and activated the cloaking shield. Now, no one would find this place, at least not easily. She marked the coordinates in her mind and stepped back. As she prepared the old escape pod for launch, something strange happened. A small blinking light appeared on the pod's damaged console. A hidden message, file encrypted and old. She tapped it, and a video opened. It was Dr. Lyra Vayan. Again, her voice calm, her eyes serious. "If you're seeing this," she said, "it means you've survived. And it means you're ready to make a choice." Thera leaned closer, heart pounding. Project Echo was never just about hybrid power. Dr. Vayan continued. It was about evolution, about emotion. You were the first of your kind who could choose. The screen showed an old map. Marked with strange coordinates, there's a place hidden in deep space. The final Echo Lab. Inside it, you'll find technology that can rebuild life. heal damage, even restore memory. But it is also dangerous because it can control life too. What you do with it? It's your choice. The screen went black. Thara sat quietly for a long moment. She looked at the sky above. Then at the pod below. She could run, she could hide, she could forget, but she wouldn't, not after everything. The old pod shook as it lifted off from the surface. Thara locked in the new coordinates and set course for the hidden Echo Lab. She stared out the window as stars passed by. For the first time in her life, she wasn't just reacting, she was deciding. Days passed, she drifted through abandoned sectors, black holes, and quiet star fields. She saw wrecked ships, floating cities, and forgotten war zones. This galaxy had been broken for a long time. But she still believed it could heal because someone once believed that about her. Finally, she reached it. A moon-sized object hidden inside a gas cloud. Wrapped in shields and darkness, the last Echo facility. Untouched, buried in silence, she landed her pod, stepped out, and entered. The doors opened without resistance. The building welcomed her like it had been waiting. Inside, the walls were covered in vines, part metal, part organic. It was alive. She moved carefully, deeper into the heart. A voice echoed. Echo 1 detected. Welcome, Director. Director, she whispered. She wasn't just a subject anymore. She had become the one in charge. The core of the lab opened slowly, revealing a glowing device. It looked like a star inside glass, pulsing with life. Next to it was a console. 2 buttons, one said rebuild, the other said erase. A message appeared on screen. You may restore the ecosystem, bring back the clones, heal your allies, or you may shut it down forever, ending the program. Thara stared at the screen. She thought of the clones, lost and confused. She thought of the pain they had caused, but also the pain they felt. She thought of Dane, lying frozen, hoping. She placed her hand on the console. She didn't choose one button. She reprogrammed both. A third option appeared, one that wasn't part of the original system. It said free will. She smiled, she touched it, the core pulsed, and across the galaxy, every piece of Echo tech shut down. The surviving clones were freed from control. The labs erased their weapons files. The system no longer belonged to scientists or soldiers. It belonged to no one. Back at Archive Theta, Dane's pod lit up. His wounds began to close. Slowly, gently, not forced, not ordered, but healed by choice. Months later, in a quiet outpost on the edge of known space, a traveler walked into a bar. She wore a hood and carried a strange map. At her side walked a mantler, stronger, his eyes full of fire. Someone whispered, "Is that the human and the hybrid?" Someone else replied, "No, that's just a girl who made a choice, and a man who believed in her." And somewhere in the stars, a new future had begun. Not written by war or by scientists, but by 2 beings who refused to be what others made them. The end.